Atlit is a tiny town right on the coast of Israel. However, off the coast, you'll find something remarkable, the remnants of a village from the end of the Stone Age known as Atlit Yam. Although nature has pretty much taken back the town, the stone structures of Atlit Yam remain well preserved under the calm waters. Although it was only discovered in 1984, marine archaeologists have since uncovered a ton of incredible things from its ruins. They found places where Neolithic peoples lived, as well as where they buried their dead. But perhaps the most incredible find is directly in the middle of the village, where 7 giant megaliths form a circle around a freshwater spring. It is one of the best preserved submerged prehistoric settlements in the world. At some point, however, Atlit Yam was forced under the sea. Number 8. Tonis Heraklion. In the 1930s, a commander in the Royal Air Force was flying around the mouth of the Nile River in Egypt. From above, it was clear that there were ruins down there, so he went back with an Egyptian expert, and they found some artifacts. But they wouldn't have ever guessed that what they had found was just a drop of what would come to be the remains of 2 whole cities. Much later, researchers slowly realized that they had come across ancient cities lost to time. They had found Tonis Heraklion and Canopus. These cities had been submerged for millennia, and there were only exceedingly vague comments in old texts that seemed to indicate that they'd ever existed at all. But people had certainly tried to find it for a while. But that's when Frank Gaudio and his team came into the picture in 2001. Gaudio was aware of the myth of Heraklion, but he and his team were actually searching for Napoleon's warships from 1798. As they dove, they found the base of a temple. At one point, there was a gigantic face peeking up from beyond the shadows in the water. The more they swam around, the more artifacts and evidence of structures they found. Heraklion was built around the 8th century BC and was a thriving metropolis. It eventually sunk into the sea and became legend. Number 7. Testing underwater DNA. Sometimes, if you get a few advanced scientists together, they'll stumble upon a way to combine their research and discover truly wonderful things. That's exactly what happened with Brandon Foley and Maria Hansen, an oceanographer and geneticist. Foley was telling Hansen about the underwater vehicle that he'd used to look at an underwater shipwreck near the island of Chios in Greece. They had seen some cargo, but he was sad that they couldn't identify what it was. Maria asked if they had analyzed the DNA on the pots that they'd found. He said no, but then he thought that might be a good idea. And a good idea it was. Foley got bits of amphorae from the ship, which are a kind of ancient pot or jug used to carry cargo in ancient times, and gave them to Hansen. She did her DNA magic on the samples and was able to retrieve some of the genetic material on them for further analysis. This is astonishing given that the amphorae had been sitting at the bottom of the sea for some 2,400 years. This has made everyone rethink the possibilities of analyzing underwater genetic material. They are now working on analyzing DNA from other collections to better understand ancient history preserved underwater. Number 6. Swedish Atlantis. Nowadays, it's rare for explorers to find artifacts from the Stone Age, but a recent discovery in the Baltic Sea from around 11,000 years ago has some people proclaiming that we've uncovered a Swedish Atlantis. Marine archaeologists discovered these remarkable artifacts underneath the waters in Hanö, a bay of the Baltic Sea just off the Swedish shoreline. Even though researchers had known that this area might house artifacts for years, they just recently went looking for themselves, and the expedition reportedly went very well. The divers who explored the area discovered a number of fascinating artifacts. For one thing, they found some tools which had been whittled from bones and wood. They also found flint tools, ropes, and even a harpoon made from bones. Under normal circumstances, these would have rotted away. But since they were hidden underwater for millennia, these artifacts have been incredibly well preserved. Number 5. Bachdang River. In 1287 AD, China's Emperor Kublai Khan sent his naval forces into Vietnam. This included around 400 precious ships. It didn't go well. After the invasion attempt, the emperor got word back that all of these ships were trapped in the Vietnamese's Bachdang River and systematically set ablaze and sunk. Researchers recently looked into some texts from the period and discovered that the Vietnamese sharpened spears from trees and made a giant yard of stakes across the Bachdang River. Then, they lured the emperor's forces into the river as the tide shifted, making the stakes stick up and tracking the ships inside. Archaeologists haven't found any of the ships yet, but they have found some of the original stakes and rice paddies. Given that the mud and rice fields are great at preservation, they might just be able to find a ship within the next few years. Until then, we'll just have to marvel at the Vietnamese's miraculous feat in naval battle. Number 4. USS Lexington. This ship was discovered with the assistance of Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. In February of 2018, after scouring the Coral Sea, which is about 500 miles off Australia's east coast, investigators finally found the remains of the USS Lexington. It was lost while fighting the Japanese Navy in the Battle of the Coral Sea that took place between the 4th and 8th of May, 1942. 216 sailors died during the attack, but 2,000 were rescued before it was scuttled by U.S. forces to prevent its secrets falling in the hands of the enemy. Number 3. Thunder Bay. Did you know that the Great Lakes in North America is home to around 6,000 sunken ships? Thunder Bay, located in the northern part of Lake Huron, houses around 80 of them, which sank or were wrecked, only to remain underwater forever. Given the purity of the water, these ships are very well preserved and have even created a sort of reef. Because of this, Thunder Bay has been designated as a marine sanctuary and is protected by the government. Number 2. Lake Titicaca. Lake Titicaca is a big lake in the Andes Mountains, and it's renowned for its beauty, but it has more going for it than its good looks alone, besides its memorable name. In 2019, a group of marine archaeologists discovered that Lake Titicaca was holding a ton of mysterious artifacts underneath its waters. In particular, these researchers discovered that there were a bunch of sacrificial and ritualistic offerings deep inside of a reef in the lake. In terms of sacrifices, they found a number of animals, including the bones of a llama that had clearly been slaughtered as an offering. There were also a number of gold medallion artifacts. These offerings point to new facts about the Tiwanaku state, the people who inhabited the Andes from 500 to 900 AD. The Tiwanaku was one of the biggest populations in the area, and these artifacts indicate the kinds of beliefs that they likely held. Number 1. Battle of the Agadi Islands. Even though modern naval ships are incredibly powerful, we shouldn't underestimate the naval abilities of our ancestors, as archaeologists searching around the coast of Sicily in 2013 discovered. When they looked underwater, they discovered a ton of mysterious maritime artifacts. But where did these artifacts come from? Researchers traced them back to the Battle of the Agadi Islands in 241 BC, which was the final fight in the Punic War between the Romans and the Carthaginians. The Punic War had been going on for 20 years by that point, during which the Romans had been trying to gain control over the Mediterranean Sea. They were outgunned because the Carthaginians had greater power in the water. But the Romans were able to trap them in and give them a surprise attack. This set the stage for the rest of Roman history. There were plenty of artifacts discovered in this find. For instance, take a look at this rusty helmet and this deteriorating battering ram. There were also a number of jugs and bottles discovered among the treasure. To date, this is the oldest naval battle that's ever been discovered almost completely intact. We have the emergence of more advanced underwater tech to thank for this discovery, and are very likely to find more things with it in the future. Thanks for watching. Bye!